the CISA building there as well. And yeah, and the more I learned, the easier it was to live in Korea.
Yeah, I'm going to date myself here, but I still remember the first thing I ever read was BDO. The video, BDO pang. Ah, okay. But that was a long time ago. They don't have those signs anymore.
It's DVD now.
But how did you manage to build up your fluency, though? You didn't attend a lot of formal classes then.
No, I did a lot of free classes. You know, people think if you want to become really good at Korean, then you should go to one of the big schools, you know, one of the universities and do full-time classes and study for a year. I never did that. I just did a lot of free classes on the weekend. I did a lot of language exchange. And obviously when I first started, it was more English than Korean. But now I find, I mean, I don't really do language exchange anymore, but now I find it's more Korean than English that I'm speaking. You know, I picked up Korean comic books, manhwa-check, you know, just for kids. It was a good way to practice. I watched TV shows, you know, I watched a lot of Korean dramas and, you know, making Korean friends and just speaking in Korean and, you know, maybe occasionally the odd glass of soju can help as well. So, you know, just relax and practice and, you know, you don't necessarily need to attend university and study intensively to be fluent in Korean or learn Korean.
Right. Well, you're proof, right? And what other techniques did you have? Share with us some of the other secrets because a lot of our viewers are in the same situation, right? They don't have the time and the energy to go and attend these long classes and everything.
Yeah.
And intensive classes and whatever techniques you use the comic books.
Yeah, I use comic books. I watch dramas and just practice. You know, you know, I would memorize a word or I would memorize some words and I think this is a good word to know. And I would try and use it before the end of the day and I would strike up the weirdest conversations with the Korean teachers. Like, I would just turn to them and ask them in Korean, like, do you feel it's hotter in the south or the north? You know, because I just learned, like, 보다.
South and north?
Yeah, I'd learned south and north. And I'd learned 보다, you know, is it hotter here than there? And they were like, it's hotter in the south? You know, they were just so taken aback. But they knew that I was trying to speak
the first
Korean.
2 times, and then they're like, okay.
She's practicing again. But I feel that, you know, a lot of Koreans, when they see, you know, foreigners out and about, they'll speak English to practice their English. And I figure that, you know, it's kind of, you know, if they can practice on us, I can practice on them. And so it would be funny. Sometimes I'd meet someone who'd practice their English and they would have entire conversations with me in English and I would reply in nothing but Korean.
Right. Well, and the vast majority of people are very helpful and want to help you learn Korean, right?
They want to help and they want, you know, and also I find that when you tell people I'm trying to learn Korean, I'm studying Korean, they're so pleased and they, you know, they think, oh, that's great. I really like it when, you know, foreigners come to Korea and make the effort. Even if you can't speak a lot, they like it if you make the effort, you know, while you're here to just learn a bit of Korean.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what I've started doing now? When I go to any other foreign country, I do the same thing. Just try to learn a few words.
Yeah, I find please, you know, thank you and hello and goodbye. And you can get by on pretty much that.
And the people appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
They just, even if you're just trying to learn a little bit, they love it. So, yeah. So you managed to learn quite a bit of Korean. And then did your career transition immediately or? How long were you teaching?
I was teaching for, let me see, I was teaching in Korea for 4.5 years.
Okay, so Jeonju.
I did a year in Jeonju.
1 year in Jeonju.
And then I did a year
Was that a good transition to
Seoul?
Korea?
Yeah, I think it was a good transition.
Yeah.
I think as well, living in Jeonju, you know, there aren't as many English speakers. I find that in Seoul there's a lot more English speakers, there's a lot more people who've been exposed to foreigners.
Right.
You know, in Jeonju, I think at the time there were tops 200 foreigners max.
Right.
And so it was still, you know, quite an unusual sight for people in Jeonju to see a foreigner. And I found that because I lived there, I was almost forced to learn Korean because there just weren't that many English speakers
Right.
among the Koreans. And so you had to learn at least, you know, how to get into a taxi, how to order food, how to ask for something. And so I think that helped a lot. And that was a good transition. Came up to Seoul, worked again in an academy. And then I was toying, thinking, shall I go back to England? Shall I stay in Korea? And I didn't really want to work at academies anymore because the holidays aren't that great.
Right.
And, you know, there's always people coming and going. A lot of the foreigners there, they don't stay for very long.
And when you were coming here, did you tell your mom, I'll be back in 1 year?
Yeah,
Same
just
thing?
one more year.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
want to, you know, see Seoul. I'll be back.
Yeah.
And so I looked for a job at an elementary school because...
In Seoul?
In Seoul.
You wanted to go from Jeonju to Seoul.
Jeonju to Seoul.
Yeah.
And well, when I came to Seoul, I worked in an academy, in a hagwon for a year.
Okay.
And
Your
then
second year of teaching?
My second year. And then I said to myself, I'm going to look for a job teaching at, you know, a public elementary school. It's got better conditions. You teach, you know, less children in a class and better working hours. And so I said, if I can't find a job working in one of those schools, I'll leave. I'll leave Korea. But I found a job at a lovely school, really lovely school. It was actually a private elementary school, 동산 초등학교.
Okay.
And it was
Hi,
just...
Dongsan.
Hi, Dongsan. I miss you. And yeah, it was just a wonderful place to work. The kids were lovely. It was nice to work just, you know, 9 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
You know, I'd have vacation in summer, vacation in winter. I could go back to see my parents.
Right.
It was wonderful.
Right.
Absolutely wonderful.
That makes life a little bit more livable,
Yeah, just the little things.
Okay. And so then you did that for a couple more years.
Yeah,
and then
did that for a
transitioned.
couple more years.
Now, you speak English really funny.
Oh, I know. I say funny words. I got a weird
Just
accent.
gotta tease you a little bit. You know? Your English is so weird. No, I'm kidding. But it must be so good for your students. And I always tell Koreans this all the time. They always seem to think that the only way to speak English is the American way to speak English.
Yes.
And the thing is, they will end up doing more business with, if they end up using their English in other ways, they'll end up traveling to more places that don't speak American English.
Yeah.
They'll end up doing business with people who don't speak American English, and they still got to learn these accents and the other ways to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it must have been very good for your students, I think, to have a British accent that they listen to for a whole semester, and then before long, they get it no problem, right?
They pick it up. Yeah, it was adorable because I find one of the biggest differences is that obviously in the UK we don't